What's up, everybody? It's Band-Aid. We're back here doing another deck list profile for you. Today we are going to be working on Blue Eyes. So this is going to be post the ban list. This was my Bystial Blue Eyes deck. We did lose we lost 2 copies of Bystial Druid Worm. So we're going to have to adjust the deck a little bit and make it a little more reasonable for this format. Anyway, let's jump on into it. Alrighty guys, I can be a little bit long-winded when making deck lists, so I'm going to try to make this one quick. I will do combos and deck theory at the end of this, but I'm just going to go through it really fast. If you just want the deck list, and then if you want to see additional stuff, make sure to watch to the end. Anyway, we're going to go 3 copies of Blue Eyes, 1 copy of Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon, 1 copy of Blue Eyes Jet Dragon, 2 copies of Neo Kaiser Seahorse, 3 copies of Maiden of White, 3 copies of Sage with Eyes of Blue, and 3 copies of Effect Veiler. That's going to be it for our Blue Eyes monsters. For our Blue Eyes spells and traps, we are running 3 copies of Wishes, 2 copies of Roar, 1 copy of Mausoleum, 1 copy of True Light, and 1 copy of the Ultimate Creation of Destruction, or Creature of Destruction. And then 2 support spells. We are running 2 copies of Spell Card Soul Exchange and 1 copy of Fusion Deployment. Moving on to our Bystial stuff, we run 3 copies of the Bystial Lubellion, 1 copy of Magnamut, 1 copy of Druid Worm, and 1 copy of Baldrake. To support that with 1 spell is going to be 1 copy of Branded Regained. Moving on to one last support engine that I run in this deck, it's going to be 3 copies of Assault Synchron, 2 copies of Tuning, and then to hit our 40th card, we run 1 copy of Called by the Grave. That is going to be it for our main deck. That is a 40 card main deck. Moving on to our extra deck, we are running 1 Stardust Dragon, 1 Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon, 1 Blue Eyes Spirit, 1 Azure Eyes Silver, 1 Stellar Wind Wolf Rayette, 1 copy of Bystial Dispater, 1 Chaos Angel, 1 Arm of Gen X Return 0, and then for our last synchro, 1 Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. For our links, we run 2 copies of Spirit with Eyes of Blue, 1 copy of Hieratic Seal. For our fusions, we run 1 Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, and then 1 Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. And then for our last, it's going to be 1 XC monster. It's going to be a rank 8, number 1 Infection Buzz King. Moving on to the side deck. We have, for going second, 3 copies of Nibiru the Primal Being, and 3 copies of Metalronus. I think I like Metaltronus better. Anyway, we also have 3 copies of Dominus Purge and 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. And then for our last side deck card, I will explain after in the deck theory portion of this video. That is going to be Mystical Space Typhoon. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for our main deck, our side deck, and our extra deck. Thank you guys. If you want to keep watching, I will be going over why some of the choices I've made are the choices that I've made. And yeah, a couple of combos. Alrighty, so for some of my card choices that I've made in this deck, I run Tuning and Assault Synchron. The main reason for this is if you open up the Bystial Lubellion, this alone, like, this creates you a Synchro 10. And in this deck, that could be either a Chaos Angel, the Gen X Return 0, or potentially a Dissipator. So all of our Synchro 10 monsters are live by opening up just 2 of these. Lubellion plus either the Assault Synchron or the Tuning. And then even better if you open up the Tuning and the Lubellion, and I'll show you why. So you open up these 2 cards, you go Lubellion, send to the graveyard, and we'll add a copy of Bystial Magnamut. Now, Magnamut doesn't work because
you have to banish the Lubellion to get the Magnemite out on field. So, okay, let's not do that. Let's go tuning. We'll add our copy of Assault Synchron, and then we'll mill something to the grave. We'll get a light. It hopefully, you know, something that will be beneficial to us if we special summon it back. Now that could be the Neo Kaiser Seahorse. It could be any of our tuner level 1 tuners. It could be a Blue Eyes even. But the main thing is we will get a mill off of the tuning, which just ups our chances of getting a monster into the graveyard, because this deck is very monster heavy. We have a high chance of getting something other than our Lubellion in the graveyard, so we can go Bystial Magnemite effect, banish the additional monster to special, and then effect at end phase. Then we can activate Bystial Lubellion effect, send the Druid or the Magnemite to the graveyard, and then we activate Bystial Lubellion effect to place our regained. Then we can special summon our Assault Synchron by paying 700 life points, and then synchro these 2 cards off and go into our copy of Bystial Dissipator. Then we go Dissipator effect to special summon back our Neo Kaiser Seahorse, or potentially anything else. If it is one of our tuners, we are able to link that off and then go into our Spirit and then add our copy of Mausoleum and then go full Blue Eyes combo. So we will get our Dissipator and our Branded Regained to start our combo, and it does not use our normal summon to do so. So anyway, that is the reason for running the Assault Synchron. Not to mention we can access a lot of the other stuff in our extra deck by using the Assault Synchron and the Bystials. Next up, another one that I wanted to talk about is True Light and Mystical Space Typhoon. So True Light getting destroyed and sent to the graveyard is very detrimental to us unless we are able to use the effects of True Light and then get rid of it ourselves before we summon any monsters. So the way that I would go about this is, if you open up Maiden and Mystical Space Typhoon, you go Maiden effect to place the True Light effect, and then we can place any of our spells or traps that we need. That could be Roar. Roar is really nice because it will actually special summon a copy of Blue Eyes, and then Blue Eyes will special summon back our Maiden and get us into our Spirit or our Wolfrayan or something along those lines. You can also go Wishes and then start full Blue Eyes combo if you have an additional discard. But yeah, so we activate that effect, get our set, and then we activate Mystical Space Typhoon and then destroy the True Light, since we've already used its effect this turn, before we get any monsters on the field. Then we can go full combo by activating whatever set card we had. Say we set the Roar, we can activate the Roar, special summon a copy of Blue Eyes from our deck, and then Maiden effect in graveyard will trigger to special summon. Then here, depending on what we have in our hand, we can either link this off and go into our Spirit, or if we don't have an additional monster or an additional level 1 tuner in hand, we can just synchro right there and go into our Synchro 9s, which could be either Spirit, Azure Eyes, or the Wolfriet. So it just gives us a lot of options and potential for full combo. And then we're not passing turn with the True Light on field. The other thing is in our extra deck we run Hieratic Seal. Seal can also bounce the True Light back to our hand, and another way to get it off the field, usually this is the route we're going to try to go if we have already established monsters on the field before we're able to get the True Light on the field. We're going to want to go into Hieratic Seal and then bounce the True Light back to our hand. Now I know this does tribute for cost. It tributes 1 monster from your hand or field, so you could potentially keep this card on the field. The problem is it's only once per turn, and he has 0 attack. So most of the time, you're just going to want to bounce the seals back to hand to return this back to hand. But if this card is tributed, tribute this card off to bounce this back to hand. But if this card is tributed, special summon 1 dragon monster from your hand or deck, and make its attack and defense 0. So you can tribute off the seals, bounce this back to hand, special summon your Druid Swarm, and then put him in defense, and then anytime that Druid Swarm leaves the field, you're going to get a banish on your opponent's side of the field. So anything you can do to remove this without losing all of your monsters is going to be beneficial. I just noticed that it was such a problem that I think running the MSTs in side deck for going first is actually really good. And it doesn't just need to be Maiden. So if you activate, if you open this, it works. If you open up Sage and MST, it works. Because you normal summon the Sage, you will lose the Sage if you go this route. So you go normal summon the Sage. Sage effect will add you one. You add the Maiden effect, discarding to place the True Light. Then you activate the True Light, popping, or you activate its effect to set your Roar. Then activate the MST, pop this. This will destroy your Sage. And then you activate your Roar. Roar will special summon a copy of Blue Eyes, and then Maiden effect in graveyard. So anyway, either way you go about it, I think it's a viable option. The other one that you could potentially run is Cosmic Cyclone, especially if you're running against a deck that has spells and traps you need to get rid of. The Cosmic Cyclone is really good because it'll banish it. You can also target your True Light, but the problem with targeting your True Light and banishing it, then when you do get a copy of Maiden, you can't place it, or you can't activate it you can't get it back from your banish. So that's why I think MST, it's funny that in a Blue Eyes deck, MST actually would work because, Blue Eyes is OG and MST is a very OG card. So I just think it's interesting. I think it's cool. I wanted to play around with it. I definitely think it's a side deck, not a main deck card, but something to keep in mind. If for some reason you don't want to try playing that route to remove your True Light, you can also run various hand traps that would fit into Gen X. So Arms of Gen X return 0. So when this card is on the field, you get a monster negate for every attribute that's in your graveyard. So when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can banish one monster from your graveyard with the same attribute, negate the activation if you do destroy that monster. So depending on what decks you're playing against, in our main deck, between our main deck and our side deck, we're going to have Light, Dark, and Wind are going to be our targets. So we can side hand traps. For example, Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring is a fire type. So if we end up using the Ash, then we get a fire negate as well. And then you can run other ones. I believe Ghost Bell is an Earth attribute. I could be wrong on that. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I know I got one sitting around here somewhere. But then you would have an Earth attribute negate. Just depending. Obviously, you would have to get the card to the graveyard. But the nice thing is with Wishes, we do have that discard for Wishes to get something in the graveyard. So whether or not you want to save the card and use it for a hand trap, or if you just want to get one into the graveyard to make the effects of Gen X live. Yeah. So anyway, and that is also why I recommend them being a side card. Once you know what you're playing against, you can side accordingly to get them into graveyard if you know you're going to go into Gen X to get the negate. And again, if to get into Gen X, you do need to get into your Assault Synchron. So if you don't open up Assault Synchron or Tuning in your initial hand, you're probably going to end up keeping whatever hand trap you sided to try to interrupt your opponent anyway. So definitely just different interesting things to think about. I did also think about these cards in various ways. Soul Exchange is actually an insane board breaker for this deck because we run level 8 monsters. We're going to be able to tribute off 2 monsters to just normal summon out our Blue Eyes. Yes, it's going to cost our normal summon for the turn, but in various cases, whether we have Maiden Engrave or X, Y, or Z, we're going to be able to just get a 3,000 monster on the field by tributing off our opponent's monsters. Yes, our opponent is going to get the exact same effect, but most of the decks that you're going to be using this against aren't running high-level monsters in their main deck. So where I can tribute summon to get into a copy of Blue Eyes the White Dragon. Let's see if we can find one. So my opponent has 2 monsters on the field and I can't do anything about it, or just big crazy monsters, right? I go ahead and I activate spell card Soul Exchange, tribute off these 2. I got a Blue Eyes. Now they have the chance to do the same exact thing, but they would need to have a monster that requires a tribute to summon. Now this would not be good to play against like Kashtira. They are level 7s. Level 7s require 2 tributes. So if they have 3 monsters, they can tribute off our Blue Eyes and then tribute off one of their monsters because we already tribute off 2 of them. And then boom, they normal summon out a Kashtira monster. But in most cases, they're not going to have a level 5, a level 6, a level 7, a level 8 to tribute off the monster that we summon. Not to mention the fact is they actually can even tribute off the Blue Eyes. It says in Soul Exchange, you can tribute summon 1 monster and you can tribute monsters your opponent controls even if you do not control them, but it cannot be tributed this turn. So they would be able to tribute summon, but you would have to have additional monsters on the field to make it effective for them. So this is going to be for your first turn, normally for breaking boards. You could potentially side this card and maybe try running the MSTs in the main deck, or potentially bumping up your copies of Fusion Deployment. I only run 1 copy of Fusion Deployment for the fact of it's once per turn and I really don't want to brick on a Fusion Deployment. So yep, anyway, that's the theory. That's the idea behind the deck. If you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to let me know down below. And then I will do one 5-card draw, test hand, see how we do. I will shuffle this up and then we'll get back to it. Alrighty, so we're just gonna go ahead and give this guy a cut, and then we're gonna mill the top 5. Alright, so this is actually a really good hand. The fact is that we do have a tuning. So we can activate the tuning. The reason that I would recommend going with the wishes first is it's not bad for us to get the Blue Eyes Jet Dragon into the graveyard, not to mention that we can start off our Blue Eyes combo, and we're going to want to get this search prior to getting our search for the Assault Synchron, since we already have a copy of that. So we're going to go ahead and activate that wishes, discarding our Blue Eyes Jet Dragon. Jet is going to search us a copy of Sage with the Eyes of Blue, and then we will add 1 spell or trap that mentions Blue Eyes. We are going to add our Roar. Here, if we get drolled, we do have Bystial combo. And then we are still going to be able to special summon our Roar from deck, which can get us into our Tyrant Dragon. So we go Roar, special summon the Blue Eyes, banish our wishes from the graveyard, equip the Fusion, and then send those 2 for our Tyrant. We can use the Tyrant plus one of our level 2 or level 1 tuner monsters to synchro. We can synchro climb with Baldrake and our Excel. Various different things that we can do. So that's probably going to be our best bet if we're going to get drolled to go that route. But in this case, we're going to pretend like we didn't. We're going to go ahead and activate Tuning. Tuning is going to add us an additional copy of Assault Synchron. And then after that, we are going to mill 1 card off the top of the deck. Our mill happens to be an Effect Veiler, which is a light, which is very good for this deck. From here, we can normal summon our Sage with Eyes of Blue. We're going to add a Maiden. We're going to activate Maiden effect, sending to graveyard to place our True Light. We're going to activate True Light to set our ultimate creature of destruction. Then we're going to link off our Sage, go into a copy of Spirit. Spirit's going to add us the Mausoleum. We'll activate the Mausoleum. Mausoleum effect, target the Spirit. Send a copy of Blue Eyes. Then we're going to activate Spirit Effect, tributing off the Spirit to special summon the Blue Eyes, and then Maiden Effect in Graveyard to special summon. At this point, we're going to go ahead and activate our copy of Roar, which is going to special summon a Blue Eyes monster from our main deck. If we control Blue Eyes already, we can special summon one that isn't Blue Eyes White Dragon, so we're going to special summon Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon, and then we're going to synchro these two off and go into a 9, which is going to give us our Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. Then we can activate our Bystial Baldrake. Baldrake is going to, in this case, we are going to be able to link climb. We'll go ahead and banish the Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon. He will special summon. We'll activate our Assault Synchron to special summon. We will synchro these two off for an 8. We will go into our copy of Excel. We'll activate Excel Effect to special summon back our Assault Synchron. And then we will synchro these two off, go into our Bystial Dispatter Effect to special summon back our Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon. And then we can overlay these two and go into that copy of Buzz King. So if this card is XYZ summon, you can look at your opponent's extra deck and send one card from it to the graveyard, so we can potentially get deck knowledge on turn 1 of our opponent's deck, and then target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. Then if you destroy a face-up monster, you can inflict damage to your... So going second, we'll be able to destroy something. Obviously, this is an uninterrupted board. We do also have our ultimate creature of destruction, which can protect either our Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, or when we activate Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon and go into our Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon, we can protect our Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon with the ultimate creature of destruction. If True Light were to trigger, it would pop the True Light. Obviously, our Buzz King and our Dissipator would leave the field. In a perfect world scenario, if we had opened up more Bystials, we would be able to special summon our Dissipator back by using the effects of Branded Regained. But ultimately, our Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon would be protected. He is a 3,500 attack, 4K defense. If we had special summoned him in defense, they would have to attack over a 4K defense. The fact is, we're probably going to use his effect to negate something, so he is a 4,500 attack. So our opponent would need to have something with higher than 4,500 attack to remove him from the field, because he is also unaffected. So anyway, that's our end board. We do have the Assault Synchron for turn, still in our hand. And then for our draw, we would get a Roar. In the case that our opponent completely cleared our board, we had nothing. This is our draw for turn. We're going to go ahead and activate our copy of Roar, special summon a Blue Eyes. Activate Assault Synchron to special summon, synchro off for a 10. We will go into our copy of Chaos Angel, banish something on the field, and then we have a 35 Light and Dark Chaos Angel with 1 removal. So anyway, that's the one hand. Like I said, this deck doesn't really brick that much. It's very consistent, and yeah, there's a lot of avenues you can go down.
Alrighty guys, so that's the Blue Eyes. We started out with the deck list. We went ahead and talked about some theory and the reasons why I'm running some of the cards in the deck that I am, and then also did a test hand. I shuffled, cut, and yeah, that's our test hand. It's very consistent of a deck. If you guys see something you think I should change, or potentially additional cards that would benefit this strategy and how I'm running it, feel free to let me know down in the comment section down below. If there's additional versions of this deck you would like to see, potentially, I don't know, White Forest, or you know, something along those lines. I have thought about also running a Blue Eyes Dark Magician variant. If you guys would like to see that down in the comment section below, please let me know. The variant with the highest comments, likes, things along those lines, I will go ahead and make that deck list as well. Anyway, this has been very fun. If you guys could give me a like, comment, subscribe down below, and then share this with any of your friends, I'd really appreciate it. We're trying to grow the channel and get it to 500 subscribers. Yeah. Thank you guys.